Good Erev Shabbos, everybody. Good Erev Rosh Chodesh. So today I just want to say a few words on Parshat Tazria Metzora. So we've come to the fourth and fifth Parshas of the book of Vayikra, and the 27th to 28th Parshas of the Torah. And so I just want to give a brief word about what's going on at this time. As we're moving towards Shavuos, we've left Passover and we're counting the Omer. We're counting 50 days, which is the first day of the 8th week. 49 to 7 complete weeks. The 50th day is the first day of the 8th week. And we're moving to go to this higher level of consciousness of the number 8. 7 being the physical world, 8 being the infinite. So really a lot of what the book of Vayikra about is moving us, I think, towards this higher level of consciousness. And in Tazria, we see right away there are 67 psukim in the Parsha, and 67 is the gematria of Bina, Beit Yud Nun Hey, and in Parshat Metzora there's 90 psukim, and 90 is the letter Tzadi, and Tzadi, someone who's a tzaddik, or is somebody who's in the battle of their evil inclination, the Yetzer Hara, they're trying to overcome, they're trying to grow. Together, 67 and 90 is 157, which is the gematria of Yosef. Yosef is 156, but if you add one for the kol, it's 157. So Yosef is someone who's overcame his lower nature, and we call him Yosef HaTzadik. The other person we call Tzadik is also Noah HaTzadik. So one of the things I noticed, interestingly, was is the gematria of Metzora. Metzora is Mem Tzadi Reish Ayin. And the gematria, Mem is 40, Tzadi is 90, Reish is 200, and Ayin is 70. So 40, 90, 270 is 400. 400 is 8 times 50. So I said earlier, 8 is like Bina, when you're counting the Sfirot, Malchut, Yesod, Hod, Netzach, Teferet, Gevura, Chesed, and Bina. Bina is the 8th level from Malchut, and so it represents one above 7, which is higher consciousness, which is understanding. 50, as I said earlier, is the number of days we're counting as we get to Shavuot. So 50 is the first day of the 8th week. So 50 times 8 is 400. This is seen in the Torah as well. When Abraham buys the cave of Machpelah, he paid 400 shekels to Ephron. And when Esav will come against Yaakov, he'll come with 400 men. There are 400 levels of negativity and 400 of positivity. So we're trying to move this higher level. So Metzora, which was this person who had this skin disease called Tzaras, is actually trying to move to this higher level of consciousness. Now, in the Torah, it actually says Ha-Metzora. Ha-Metzora has a Hey in front of it, so that's 405. So if you take one for each of the letters, there are 5 letters in Ha-Metzora, there's 410. Now, 410 is the exact same gematria as Shmini, which was last week's Parsha. Shmini is 410, which is the number 8. As well, Kadosh is 410, as I said last week, and so is Shema, and so is Ararat, which was the where Noah landed his ark. So there's different words that are 410 as well. The first temple lasted 410 years. So we see that Metzora has this connection to this. There's something holy about this. And when we read Parshat Tazria, it starts off with the bris milah. So right away we get this number 8 coming in. And then if a person had this skin disease called Tzaras, which today we look at it, people call it like a spiritual leprosy, but leprosy really is a bacterial infection. But if they had this spiritual disease, they would be taken to the Kohen. The Kohen was the highest level of consciousness of the tribes of Israel, and the HaKohen is the gematria Hey Kuf Hey Nun 80. Again, this connection to the number 8. The purification of the Metzora, someone with Tzaras, would be they would have to be clean for 7 days, and on the 8th day they would bring this sacrifice, and on the 8th day again. So we see this, and at the end of Parsha Metzora, we have the same thing with someone who has a mission, a discharge, a sexual discharge, or just a discharge of some sort. They would have to wait 8 days as well in order to become purified on the 8th day after they brought the appropriate sacrifices. So we see this idea of 8 permeating throughout the Parshas. Now, it's an interesting paradox. Here you have some spiritual disease, and yet you have this very high spiritual level. So everything that comes to us in life, everything that happens to us, every difficulty, everything we overcome, like Abraham had his tests of faith and the Kedah, and as we overcome something, we can go to a higher level of consciousness. And so sometimes the tsaras would be in the person, on the skin, or sometimes it would be in the clothing, or sometimes it would be in the wall. And they'd have to bring the Kohen in. And if it was in the building or in the wall, then they'd have to tear down the wall. And sometimes when they would tear down the wall, they would find there would be a treasure buried in the wall. It says that in the Gemara. So sometimes things that may appear to be negative are not necessarily negative. And so they say that one of the affliction is called the nega, which is spelled nun gimel ayin. And so ayin represents an eye, but it's on the left side of the word. If you switch the ayin to the other side, you put you just move the ayin to the right side of the word, you have the word oneg, which is the delight. So really, depending on how you look at things can be devastatingly bad, or they could be a delight. Everything can be for the good. There was a famous character in the Talmud called Gamzu, and he would always say Gamzu Latova, that everything is ultimately for the good. Even bad is for the good. So when we say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, we say, listen Israel, Hashem, which is the Tetragrammaton, which is kindness and rachamim, and Elokeinu, which is din and judgment, Hashem Echad, they're all one and the same. That everything that happens to us, even though it's negative, it's trying to raise us to this higher level of consciousness, this number 8. And I see this often with my patients. Sometimes patients come in with depression or anxiety or post-traumatic stress. Something bad has happened. And really, I try to help them to see the treasure that's hidden within the suffering. This is kind of what Viktor Frankl found in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, that we try to find a deeper meaning to why things are happening to us. And really, so Tazria, which is the 67 psukim, and Metzora, which is 400, which is nudging us to reach this higher level of number 8 consciousness. And so that's kind of the energy as we're marching towards Shavuos, that we want to try to open up our higher levels of consciousness. So I want to wish everybody a good Chodesh Tov for Chodesh Iyar. By the way, Iyar is Ayin Yud Yud Resh, and it's an acronym for Ani Hashem Rufoecha. I am Hashem, your healer. So tremendous amount of healing can come in this month as we move towards Sivan, which is the month of receiving the Torah, or Matan Torah. So I want to wish everyone a very healing Rosh Chodesh Iyar and a very good Shabbos, and we'll see you next week.